There's a reason education sucks, and it's the same reason that it will never, ever, ever be fixed. It's never going to get any better. Don't look for it. Be happy with what you got. Because the owners of this country don't want that. I'm talking about the real owners now. The real owners, the big wealthy business interests that control things and make all the important decisions. Forget the politicians. The politicians are put there to give you the idea that you have freedom of choice. You don't. You have no choice. You have owners. They own you. They own everything. They own all the important land. They own and control the corporations. They've long since bought and paid for the Senate, the Congress, the state houses, the city halls. They got the judges in their back pockets. And they own all the big media companies, so they control just about all of the news and information you get to hear. They got you by the balls. They spend billions of dollars every year lobbying to get what they want.
Government by the people, of the people, for the people. But the people are retarded.
Well, I'm sick and tired of smart guys.
Let me start off with two words. Made in America. Made in America.
It makes me laugh every time. It's so fucked up. So this early, we are actually going to watch Adam Schiff get censored. I'm so excited.
So excited.
I kind of sound like I have an audio issue. Which is kind of annoying. Can you hear it?
I can't hear anything at this side. Give me a sec.
Why is it? It's so weird. Oh, okay. It was your end. I see. That's fun. Anyway, let's say hi to everybody real quick. Hello, Caitlin. Hello, Boomer. How are you doing? Again, we're going to watch Adam Schiff get censored. So it's very interesting. It lasts about an hour and 10 minutes in itself. So there seems to be a little bit of a delay in audio. Something's really fucked up. And I'm going to play with my audio while we watch this and see if I can't make it sound better.
The crackle should have gone there for me.
And yeah, you got something going on with your audio as well. Kind of broke up.
For me.
Weird. Moose was actually supposed to join us. He's sleeping, I'm assuming. So if he wakes up, maybe he'll come join us. Let's do this.
Of Rule 9. House will be in order.
The censoring of
Rule 9,
of
the
anybody
from Florida and the gentleman from Maryland,
is
Mr. Raskin, each will
scary.
control 30 minutes. The chair
Once you start
recognizes the
doing
gentleman
it,
from Florida.
everybody thinks that they should do it.
Gentlewoman will suspend. Ask members to take their conversations off the floor. House will be in order. Gentlewoman is recognized.
I yield myself such time as I may consume. Americans do not trust Congress. From the highest levels of office, an elected member of this body enabled the fraudulent spending of $32 million out of the pockets of our American people and threw it down the drain to knowingly chase ghosts, all for political gain. This man occupied a position of the highest trust and authority. As chair of the House Intelligence Committee, Adam Schiff launched an all-out political campaign built on baseless distortions against a sitting U.S. president at the expense of every single citizen in this country and the honor of the House of Representatives. With access to sensitive information unavailable to most members of Congress and certainly not accessible to the American people,
I
Shiff
mean,
abused his
she
privileges claiming to
could
know the
button up
truth
her shirt.
while leaving Americans in the dark about his web of lies, or
Alright,
about this web
politics
of
needs a bit of
lies.
sex appeal.
Lies so severe that they altered the course of the country forever. The lie that
Gentlelady will
President
suspend.
It's a
The
joke.
House is not in order. Members, please take your conversations off the floor.
The lie that President Donald Trump colluded with Russia to steal the 2016 presidential election, revealed to be completely false by numerous investigations, including the Durham report. The lie that the Steele dossier, a folder of falsified and since completely debunked collusions, accusations funded by the Democrat Party, had any shred of credibility. Yet Shiff read it into congressional record as fact. Lies concocted and compiled in a false memo that was used to lie to the FISA court to precipitate domestic spying on U.S. citizen Carter Page, violating American civil liberties. Not only was this egregious abuse of Schiff's privileged access to classified information, but this memo was littered with 17 major mistakes and omissions. The groundless memo violated Carter Page's civil liberties, publicly assassinated his character, and subjected him to multiple abusive, unlawful investigations. Mr. Shiff exploited his position as chair of Intel Committee and every opportunity possible, threatening national security, undermining our duly elected president, and bringing dishonor upon the institution. Perhaps most unforgivable, Shiff ripped apart American families across the country with repeated false narratives. His own political good was served by permanently destroying family relationships and sowing lasting division across our land, which we live with every single day. The perpetrator of this web of deceit became mainstays on cable news, waking up every morning with one goal: to lie to the American people that there was a direct evidence of Russia collusion. Despite transcripts from Schiff's investigation showing that the Director of National Intelligence, former Obama Attorney General, former Attorney General, and FBI Director, to name a few, went on record telling Schiff's committee that there was no direct evidence for his criminal conspiracy. Yet to this day, Shiff actively fundraises off of his exploitation of Americans as if robbing them from the truth and $32 million in taxpayer dollars was not enough. Can anyone in this chamber comprehend this list of crimes and yet somehow believe that there should not be an answer for it? This is not a partisan act. This is not a conservative versus liberal vote. This is a clear vote between right and wrong, and I urge you to do the right thing. I will end with repeating with what I started with. The American people do not trust Congress. The cyclical pattern of lies has worn down the credibility of every institution and every official in the United States government. You see it, I see it. If we run away from this opportunity to hold this man accountable, there is only one fault, and that is of ourselves. We will betray the people who trusted us and sent us here to do the right thing. We will be responsible for the end of any shred of justice in this body, and we will reject the duty that we swore an oath to protect upon taking office. I reserve the balance of my time.
Gentlewoman reserves. The gentleman from Maryland is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Today we meet not to lower the cost
Oh my
of
gosh, it's a
prescription
rat
drugs,
skin.
nor to expand President Biden's infrastructure plan, nor to protect the voting rights of the people, nor to protect the health care
my
choices of
gosh,
women
I'm
across
like,
America.
What is she going to
We know
say
they're
the
definitely
second this
not
guy
interested. No, we
stands
meet
up?
rather for another stop on the GOP's endless revenge
Rumpus
tour
stills
against
contain the
Democrats
twin
who dare
cousin
to tell
man.
the truth about Donald Trump and his repeated sellouts and betrayals of the American people over the last 6 years. It's all about Donald Trump tightening his stranglehold
Maybe
over
that'll work a
Republicans
little
for the
bit better.
2024 campaign and driving
You were
out
at like
anyone who dares to
200% for
think
some reason.
for himself or herself.
Let's go.
But don't take my word for it. Just read Friday's statement by the twice
Yeah, I
impeached
don't know
inciter of insurrection,
got
sexual
some
abuser,
weird crackle
defamer of
going
women,
on.
and indicted pilferer of national security
Should I read
secrets,
that? Should I
war
read that?
plans, and top secret
I don't know,
classified
maybe
documents himself.
Pop
On
out,
Friday, Trump
restart
posted
yourself,
this order
come
to his
back in.
followers
I
and
don't
this
know.
unveiled threat to anyone who would dare to defy his control over the GOP. Quote, any Republican voting against Adam Schiff's censure or worse should immediately be primaried, he wrote. The Luna resolution is a weapon of mass distraction from Trump's indictment by a Florida grand jury on 37 federal charges relating to obstruction and unlawful retention of defense
It
information
sounds good
for
for
storing
now.
dozens of classified, secret, and top secret documents at his Florida resort, in his bathroom, his
Michael
bedroom, and
Hagen
beyond,
says,
and
I
then
don't know what a
refusing
censure
repeatedly
is,
for more than a
but
year
hopefully
to
it's
return any
like
of
a
these
chipper.
official documents
No.
to the
I know.
archives and the FBI. It's amazing to me that they have to
I
change
mean-
the subject from one of Donald Trump's current offenses against America to one of his older offenses,
It's a political
welcoming
chipper.
Russian interference in the 2016 presidential campaign.
Sure. Yeah.
Russia repeatedly intervened in the
What the fuck is this guy wearing? It's a do-rag.
Of
And
sorts.
for whatever reason, he feels it's necessary to wear such a
Virtue
thing
it's
on a
virtue
regular
signaling.
basis. A do-rag, yes. He wears them all the time. This is not something new.
2016
ever since
campaign
his
to help
cancer
Donald Trump.
diagnosis.
Seeing that's what I was wondering. Is he going through something?
This
Cancer.
was ages ago, and he wouldn't come in during COVID because of the risk of germs. And then he came in with the mask and the scarf, and now he's just wearing the scarf, and he's been doing this for the best part of a year now.
He's
Yes,
trying to
it's-
cover up the baldness. Yeah.
It's a sympathy play,
yeah.
definitely virtue signaling.
And he's going to continue. He's going to continue to do it because he's not going to not virtue single. He's always going to do that.
Yeah.
Trump, and that's not a matter of opinion. That's a question of direct positive fact. Special counsel Robert Mueller, the former
It looks
FBI
like
director,
Aunt
whose
Jemima.
report is cited authoritatively by Ms. Luna, found right at the beginning of
That's
his report
funny.
that, quote, the Russian government interfered in the 2016 presidential election in sweeping and systematic fashion. Here's what the CIA, the FBI, the NSA, and the Office of the Director of National Intelligence found in 2017. Russian President Vladimir Putin ordered an influence campaign in 2016 aimed at the U.S. presidential election. The Mueller investigation and the Moscow Project documented more than 250 episodes of collaboration and meetings between Russia and the Trump campaign, including Paul Manafort's repeated passing of campaign secrets, such as polling data to Konstantin Kilimnik, a Russian agent, and the infamous meeting on June 9, 2016 at Trump Tower, led by Donald Trump Jr., Jared Kushner, and Russian lawyer Natalia Veselnitskaya. Senator Marco Rubio, the Florida Republican, stated that the U.S. Senate Bipartisan Select Committee on Intelligence, quote, found irrefutable evidence of Russian meddling in the American campaign. So, the Mueller report, if you read it, makes no pronouncement on collusion, the putative crux of the distinguished gentlelady's complaint, because as Mueller writes, collusion is not a legal offense or a legal concept. And so the whole question of Trump's collusion with Russia is in the realm of opinion. And most Americans would see a lot of collusive activity all the way up to the present day, when Donald Trump refuses even to take the side of the Ukrainian people against Vladimir Putin's filthy, bloody imperialist invasion of their country, which has been filled with lies, atrocities, and war crimes. In any event, we don't censure members over a difference of opinion. Mr. Speaker, we're seeing the complete ethical collapse of a once great political party. The Republican Party began as a pro-freedom, anti-racist, pro-immigrant, anti-know-nothing party. It has become an authoritarian cult of personality, taking orders from an inciter of insurrection, a bully and braggart whose rage towards Mike Pence and whose spectacular...
By the way, just so everyone knows, we know that Joe Biden is the most legitimate president ever with the most votes. We're not contesting that.
Not at all.
It's something that, you know, just because they say it doesn't mean we believe them.
We're just sharing what's happening in the political sphere.
Right.
disrespect for the rule of law endangered not only our entire constitutional order, but everyone in this room. The party of Lincoln and his Lincolnites has become the party of Luna and her Luna followers. Today's
I
madcap
thought you were going to say
antics are an
lunatics.
obvious deflection from Trump's deepening legal troubles, his allegedly criminal conduct in pilfering, hoarding, and refusing to return national security documents has caused his own Attorney General, William Barr, to say that, quote, Trump's conduct is indefensible. He's not a victim here. He was totally wrong, and there is no excuse for what he did here. Yesterday, Representative Boebert offered a resolution of impeachment against President Biden. The GOP simply has no ideas for our economy.
As she fucking should have.
Absolutely.
There's so many more that did, because you had Luna that did it, and there's another. I don't remember who the other person was, but there's been several people that have actually done this.
Marjorie Taylor Greene.
I mean,
she was the
no
first
ideas
one
for our
to
country and no idea for our people, but is on an embarrassing revenge tour on behalf of Donald Trump, who treats them like a ventriloquist dummy. I reserve.
As a
Gentleman
part of
reserves.
the
Gentleman from Florida is recognized.
I yield 2 minutes of my time to the gentleman from Tennessee.
I'm sorry. Did you want to say something?
I said as opposed to the pile of mashed potato that's in charge right now.
Yeah, right. So anybody that hasn't ever watched how this works is it's Republican first Democrat. She gets time, he gets time, and they each get to delegate their time to other other representatives. So whatever time she wants to actually give them, she can. If they go over their 2 minutes, they're going to get gavelled, but she can give them, another 30 seconds if they want it. So there's some interesting goings on. It's kind of fun.
Representative Ogles.
Gentleman is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Thank you to my colleague and dear friend,
Nice yellow tie.
Congressman Luna, for leading the charge to hold our Democrat counterparts responsible for their gross misuse of power. Adam Shiff abused his power of chairman of the House Intelligence Committee to create false narratives that were sold to the American people about President Trump. The Mueller report and Durham report both proved that the basis for the so-called Russian collusion investigation was non-existent. The representative from California misled the American people and compromised the interests of the United States of America in service of defeating, persecuting, attacking, and defaming President Donald Trump. Mr. Speaker, he was hasty, he was prejudiced, and he was wrong. It's clear he was concerned for no one but himself and the advancement of the Democratic Party, their political agenda. $32 million later, the American people are left with lies and the obligation to pick up the tab for this boondoggle of a political witch hunt. The representative from California prioritized personal political gain over the interests of our nation, and he more than deserves to be censured by the people's house. The Democratic Party has allowed an invasion on our southern border, where every small town in America is now a border town. Every one of us knows someone that's been poisoned or overdosed because of fentanyl. Illegals are raping and killing people across our country. And what do? They claim to have a solution and they have none. Mr. Speaker, I thank you for your time. I yield back.
Manager reserves. Gentleman from Maryland is recognized.
I yield to the distinguished gentleman from California, the former chairman of the House Intelligence Committee, Mr. Shiff, for as much time as he may consume.
Gentleman's recognized.
To my Republican colleagues who introduced this resolution, I thank you. You honor me with your enmity. You flatter me with this falsehood. You who are the authors of a big lie about the last election must condemn the truth tellers, and I stand proudly before you. Your words tell me that I have been effective in the defense of our democracy, and I am grateful. And yet this false and defamatory resolution comes at a considerable cost to the country and to the Congress. At a moment when millions of people in our home state of California are unable to find a place to live or afford a place to live, Speaker McCarthy chooses to occupy the resources of Congress for 2 straight weeks on this hollow sop to the MAGA crowd. He offers nothing to those who are homeless or addicted to opioids or to millions of college students mired in debt, but this paltry distraction. Donald Trump is under indictment for actions that jeopardize our national security, and McCarthy would spend the nation's time on petty political payback, thinking he can censure or fine Trump's opposition into submission. But I will not yield, not 1 inch. The cost to the Speaker's delinquency is high, but the cost to Congress of this frivolous and yet dangerous resolution may be even higher, as it represents another serious abuse of power. Donald Trump has threatened that any of you that defy him and vote against this partisan resolution will be met by a primary challenge. And he calls for my imprisonment. If a transient majority can punish and attempt to silence members who hold a corrupt president to account, there is no telling what further corruption of office will follow. And I say this to Speaker McCarthy and others who wish to gratify Donald Trump with this act of subservience or bend to his demands. Try as you might to expel me from Congress or silence me with a $16 million fine, you will not succeed. You might as well make it $160 million. You will never deter me from doing my duty. No matter how many false justifications or slanders you level against me,
They succeed. They succeed so much. Why am I hearing a freaking echo? It's so annoying. Yeah, go Hagen. You weren't yeeted. We're sorry.
Ever so sorry, my finger slipped.
but indict yourselves. As Liz Cheney said, there will come a day when Donald Trump is gone, but your dishonor will remain. This resolution attacks me for initiating an investigation into Trump campaign solicitation and acceptance of Russian help in the 2016 election, even though the investigation was first led not by me, but by a Republican chairman. It would hold that when you give internal campaign polling data and your polling data to a Russian intelligence operative, while Russian intelligence is helping your campaign, as Trump's campaign chairman did, that you must not call that collusion, though that is its proper name, as the country well knows. It would fine me for the costs of the critically important Mueller investigation into Trump's misconduct, even though the special counsel was appointed by Trump's own attorney general. It would reprimand me over a flawed FISA application as if I were its author or I was the director of the FBI, and over flaws only discovered years later and by the Inspector General, not Mr. Durham. In short, it would accuse me of omnipotence, the leader of some vast deep state conspiracy, and of course, it is nonsense. But here is the real gravamen of my offense. I led the first impeachment.
Which is the reason why you should actually be removed right now, because you continue to cause trouble over and over again. Adam Shifty Schiff should not ever be a representative, a senator, or anything else. He's a worthless pile of crap.
He didn't get the name Shifty Shift for nothing. Come on.
Right?
The most egregious presidential abuses of power in our history. And I led a trial which resulted in the first bipartisan vote to remove a president in history. And I would do so again. I warned that if Trump was not held accountable, he would go on to try to cheat in even worse ways in the next election. And
You think they all knew that?
Inciting a violent attack on this very Capitol. And after that, I participated in some of the most important hearings in congressional history, hearings that exposed Donald Trump's incitement of a dangerous insurrection to prevent the peaceful transfer of power. My colleagues, if there is cause for censure in this House, and there is, it should be directed at those in this body who sought to overturn a free and fair election. The question, my Republican colleagues, is not why am I the subject of this false resolution for doing my constitutional duty, but why are you not? Why are you not standing beside me, the subject of a similar rebuke for speaking the truth? Why
Nobody
did you not
wants to stand
up to
beside
Donald
you.
Trump? Why did you not reject his immorality? Why did you not condemn his dishonesty? Why did you not speak out when his horde attacked this Capitol, or now when he treats the nation's secrets with such carelessness, lawlessness, and disdain? Why did you hide from efforts to hold him accountable? Why were you silent, afraid, unwilling to do your ethical, constitutional duty? Why did you cower? Why did you cower? And why do you still? Will it be said
The
of
whole
you
time, Mike.
that you lack the
Lies.
courage to stand up to the most immoral, unlawful, and unethical
They think
president
if you
in
say it
history,
over and over
but
again, eventually it
consoled
makes it true.
yourselves by attacking those who did? Today, I wear this partisan vote as a badge of honor, knowing that I have lived my oath, knowing that I have done my duty to hold a dangerous and out of control president accountable, and knowing that I would do so again in a heartbeat if the circumstances should ever require it.
Piece of
I
trash.
thank you, and I yield back.
Members are reminded to direct their remarks to the chair and not each other in the second person. Gentleman reserves. Gentlewoman from Florida is recognized.
I yield 2 minutes of my time to the gentlewoman from Illinois.
He had to
Representative
repeat
Miller.
that because that's exactly what he did the whole
Gentlewoman's
time.
recognized.
Yep.
Thank you, Congresswoman Luna, for leading on this resolution. Representative Shiff used his position as the chairman of the House Intelligence Committee to mislead the American people by falsely claiming that there was classified evidence of Russia colluding with President Trump, which was not true. The Mueller report and the Durham report make clear that the Russian collusion hoax was a political lie designed to hurt President Trump and mislead the American people. Representative Shiff used the Intelligence Committee to advance a political narrative against his political opponents, which violated the important nonpartisan tradition of the committee. I am proud to join my colleagues today in holding Representative Shiff accountable for his actions because the American people deserve justice. Thank you, and I yield back.
Manager.
It's funny because she called him Shift. Gohagan, these motherfuckers need to be reminded that what an insurrection really is. You know, that could be dangerous no matter who does it.
Yeah.
It could be very, very dangerous.
Your reserves. Gentleman from Maryland is recognized.
I recognize the gentleman from California, the chairman of the Democratic Caucus and a former member of the January 6th Select Committee, Mr. Aguilar, for 1 minute.
Gentleman's recognized.
I thank the gentleman from Maryland. Mr. Speaker, I rise today in strong opposition to the resolution. It is shameful that the temporary Republican majority continue to waste the American people's time with baseless accusations and right-wing conspiracy theories. Instead of joining House Democrats to address gun violence epidemic, we forced a debate on gas stoves and partisan grudges. This resolution today is motivated by the same groups and individuals who to this day promote the lie that the 2020 election was stolen, a lie that Adam Schiff stood up to time and time again. And I've had the privilege of serving alongside Adam in the California delegation and on the January 6th committee. He has never shied away from taking on the toughest fights, and he is not going to be intimidated by anyone, including the former president or his allies. I'm proud to stand with the gentleman from California today and urge my colleagues to join me in opposition to this resolution.
You can urge him as much as you want.
Gentleman reserves. Gentleman from Florida is recognized.
Say that again.
Everyone that was on that committee needs to be dealt with. Like they're proud. They need to not be proud of that move.
Yeah, I agree. They seem to be very, very proud of what they think that they did when they absolutely did zero things, but caused troubles with everybody that that's involved.
It wasn't even a fair. If they're going to do a committee, they're supposed to follow some basic guidelines, and they threw that book out the window. Even just setting up the committee, they threw the book out the window. They said, we're going to do it our way. We don't care.
recognized.
I yield 2 minutes of my time to the gentleman from New York, Representative Langworthy.
Gentleman's recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. In this body, we are privileged to serve our districts and do right by the American people. We've been entrusted with a tremendous responsibility that shapes the future of our nation. First and foremost, we must remember that we are not here to serve our own interests or pursue personal agendas. Now, unfortunately, one of the most powerful members of the Democratic caucus, Adam Schiff, abused his role and violated the trust of the American people. As chairman of the House Intelligence Committee, Shiff initiated an unfounded investigation into the leftist lies around Russian collusion. This investigation was predicated on nothing more than political propaganda. The Durham report clearly shows that the Russian hoax was manufactured by the left to divide our nation and discredit and derail President Trump's agenda. He not only wasted
There's a
countless
moose.
hours of committee work, but he also wasted nearly $32 million in
What's up, brother?
taxpayer dollars. Schiff repeatedly used the authority he was afforded in his position as chairman to lie to the American people to support his political agenda. Even after the Durham report discredited the Russia hoax, he continued to knowingly lie and peddle this false narrative. These actions leave a real and lasting stain on this institution. We cannot allow Representative Schiff to continue to serve in this body with no consequences for the abuse of his power. I urge my colleagues to support this resolution and to send a clear message to the American people that we will hold members of Congress accountable. And I yield back.
Manager reserves, gentleman from Maryland.
I yield to the gentleman from New York, our minority leader and a member of the first House impeachment team, Mr. Jeffries.
Thank the distinguished gentleman.
Does the gentleman yield 1 minute?
But 1 minute.
Gentleman's recognized.
Thank the distinguished gentleman for yielding and for his leadership. I rise today in strong opposition to this fake, phony, and fraudulent censure resolution brought against Adam Schiff, the distinguished gentleman from the great state of California.
He doesn't even know how to use his hands properly to talk.
He's been practicing that speech. That's what he's been doing. It's very staged.
But nobody uses their hands like that.
It's like a real life comedy show. This is great.
House Democrats will continue.
Needs a little bit more work. A couple more classes.
Just a little bit.
Yeah.
What's up, Grimsbar? Good to see you, brother.
To put people over politics, to fight for lower costs and better paying jobs and safer communities and defend democracy, fight for freedom, build an economy that invests and grows the middle class. This is a do-nothing, Republican-controlled Congress. That is why this censure resolution is on the floor today. Extreme MAGA Republicans have no vision, have no plan, have no agenda to make life better for everyday Americans. House Democrats will continue to work for the people. Clearly, as this resolution demonstrates, extreme MAGA Republicans work for the twice impeached, disgraced former president of the United States of America, the insurrectionist in chief, the extreme puppet master who clearly ordered that this fake, phony, and fraudulent resolution be brought to the floor today after it failed last week. In fact, the supreme puppet master even threatened the other side of the aisle with primary.
I think that's the funnier part is it was actually attempted last week and they failed. They failed last week to only come back this week to see what they actually succeeded at doing.
Yeah.
None of them see it actually coming. They just assume that, oh yeah, it's all good. You heard from Schiff at the beginning there himself, where he actually just kind of pointed fingers and tried saying that he didn't do any of the stuff that they're saying that he'd done. And we all watched it happen.
And this guy is channeling his inner Barack Obama. That's where it's come from. This is where I've seen it before, but he just doesn't do it very well.
You know what, though? Most people, they won't look into it, so it works. They just lie right to your face.
Oh, yeah.
Go Hagen. I live here, the shithole formerly known as California.
If they didn't bend the knee. And when he says bend the knee, extreme MAGA Republicans say How high? Adam Schiff has done nothing wrong. Adam Schiff is a good man. Adam Schiff has served this country with distinction.
Doesn't even make sense.
Adam Schiff served this country well as a federal prosecutor, fighting to keep communities safe.
Now, can you say it in your own words?
Served this country well as the chair of the House Intelligence Committee, investigating people without fear or favor, including those at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue, because he believes in the Constitution and his oath of office. Adam Schiff served this country well as the lead impeachment manager during the first impeachment trial of the former president of the United States, prosecuting his corrupt abuse of power. And yes, Adam Schiff served this country well. In the aftermath of the violent insurrection, pushed back against the big lie told by the puppet master in chief, and
Gotta get that one in there.
participated as a prominent member in the January 6th committee to defend our democracy. Adam Schiff has done nothing wrong. He's worked hard to do right by the American people. But the extreme MAGA Republicans, no vision, no agenda, no plan to make life better for the American people. And so we have this phony, fake, and fraudulent censure resolution. But Adam Schiff will not be silenced. We will not be silenced. House Democrats will not be silenced today. We will not be silenced tomorrow. We will not be silenced next week. We will not be silenced next month. We will not be silenced next year. We will not be silenced this decade. We will not be silenced this century. You will never, ever silence us. We will always do what is right. We will always fight for the Constitution, fight to defend democracy, fight for freedom, and expose your extremism, and continue America's long, necessary, and majestic march toward a more perfect union. Vote no against this phony, fake, and fraudulent censure resolution. I yield back.
Gentleman reserves. Gentlewoman from Florida is recognized.
I yield 2 minutes to the gentleman from South Carolina, Representative Norman.
Gentleman's recognized.
Thank you, thank you, Congresswoman Luna. I proudly stand with Congresswoman Luna to back this censure of a man that has been long overdue. And I'm glad the galleries are now open where people can see firsthand that you cannot get up in front of Congress or the American people and completely deny the truth and continue to spread falsehoods. There is no TV that could have been turned on over the last couple of years when you didn't see Adam Schiff being questioned. Where's your evidence on the Russian collusion? Where is it? He couldn't answer it. It was always coming. He used his position on the Intel committee. And for those of you who are listening, it's information we don't get as regular Congress people. He used his position on the Intel committee to spread continuous lies with no facts. Now, how did he do that? He had access not only to the most sensitive information, and he did not share the access or facts that backed what he was saying. The trusted and sensitive position as abused by Congressman Shiff to weave purposely falsehoods around the Russian collusion. The Mueller report and the Durham report make clear that the foundations of his investigations were bogus. It showed that the Director of National Intelligence,
there's a Democrat that read the
Obama
book.
Attorney General, former Deputy Attorney General, and the FBI Director, among others, all told his committee there was no direct evidence of criminal conspiracy. Yet he kept making the same
I know, it says he's Republican,
statements that
but
his evidence was coming, and it just never did. Not only did he spread
Representative?
falsehoods that abused his power,
no,
he went after a man
Republican out of
as
what did it
Carter
say, South
Page,
Carolina?
who was completely innocent.
But you know, it
And the Inspector General Horowitz found
Yeah,
17
South
major
Carolina.
mistakes.
Time's
it-
expired.
the-
Oh, I see they are.
Reserves. Gentlewoman yields additional 2 minutes.
Later found 17 major mistakes and omissions, which provoked the FISA court presiding judge, Rosemary Collier,
to state unequivocally the FBI misled FISA. This public smearing of Carter Page as a Russian collaborator and justification of spurious investigations of him were carried out with Representative Schiff's contribution. This is a violation of American civil liberties, and it's the very abuse that should not be warranted in Congress. And all this to spend $32 million on an investigation that went nowhere. It's an insult to the American people. The American people deserve better. And Congressman Luna, I just appreciate you bringing this up. Words have actions. Just because they continue to say it does not make it true. That's the case of what Adam Schiff has done. I yield back.
Amen.
Gentlewoman reserves, gentleman from Maryland.
Grim's got a question. He says, did FISA hold them in contempt? When it comes down to it, I'm not positive that they actually did. I really don't know if they actually did, but you know, I haven't been able to read the whole book yet.
Gentleman's recognized.
I yield 1 minute to the distinguished gentleman from Illinois, Mr. Quigley.
Gentleman's recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I had the honor of serving with the gentleman from California in the House Permanent Select Committee on Intelligence for 8 years. I had an in-the-ring view of his work. And obviously, it is not what Mr. Shiff did that was wrong. It's what he did so well. And that's what bothers the majority. He defended our country from threats, foreign and domestic. He defended the rule of law, and he defended our democracy at one of its most critical and pivotal points. And he held the ethically and legally challenged former president accountable. But what really gnaws on the majority, what really bothers them, is that Mr. Shiff was way better than anybody on their team at debate, at leadership, at messaging, at legal knowledge. He kicked their ass. He was better, he was more effective, and that still bothers them. They couldn't beat him on the field, so they voted him off. We voted people off committees because they posted threats, not because they can't compete.
Gentlemen's time's expired. I remind members to refrain from profanity in the remarks. Gentlewoman from Florida.
I yield 2 minutes of my time to the gentleman from Virginia, Representative Good.
Gentleman's recognized.
Thank you to the gentlelady from Florida for your leadership. Mr. Speaker, I'm sorry to report to my friends on the other side that we are not voting today on whether or not to censure President Trump, but one Adam Schiff. And Mr. Speaker, I rise in support of this censure resolution. Adam Schiff has denigrated the office which he holds and the standards of this very body. The American people, when they elect their representatives, place trust in them, that they will act with honesty and integrity. But Adam Schiff, he had access to our nation's secrets and then intentionally created a web of lies, falsely alleging his tales of foreign interference and Russia collusion. He perpetrated blatant falsehoods publicly, loudly, and repeatedly to the American people. How many times did we hear him claim that he had seen evidence of Russian collusion? He betrayed the trust of the American people. This resolution will censure Schiff for his gross abuse of power, using his position as chairman of the House Permanent Select Committee on Intelligence to access our nation's most sensitive information to then mislead the American people and his colleagues here in this Congress. The other side often speaks of decorum and holding up the integrity of this body. Now it's time for them to put their actions to their words. Will they continue to support the lies promoted by the congressman from California, or will they vote in favor of maintaining the integrity of this distinguished body? I challenge them to vote today for integrity, to vote for truth, and to vote to censure Adam Schiff in this House. And I yield back.
Manager reserves, gentleman from Maryland is recognized.
I yield 1 minute to the distinguished gentleman from New York, Mr. Goldman.
Gentleman's recognized.
Thank you, the distinguished gentleman from Maryland. Boy, is Adam Schiff powerful. He can at once be the chairman of the Intelligence Committee, the special counsel investigating Donald Trump, manage and run the FBI, and be a judge ruling on FISA applications. It is remarkable that he, from his perch in Congress, can do all of that. Of course, he didn't do any of that. All he did was properly impeach the President of the United States for his gross abuse of power. You want to talk about collusion? Let me ask my Republican colleagues. If a campaign manager for a campaign is giving internal information to a Russian intelligence agent, is that collusion? Because that was the once classified information that is now public and now constitutes collusion. And there are so many other issues. There is nothing in this motion, this resolution
I
that
want to yield
is
the gentleman
true.
an additional 20 seconds.
Gentleman's recognized.
One of my colleagues says, we will hold members accountable. You are the party of George Santos. Who are you holding accountable? The guy is an alleged and acknowledged liar and indicted, and you protect him every day. Don't lecture us with your projection and your defense of Donald Trump. It's pathetic, and it's beneath you, and it's beneath this body, and I yield back.
Gentleman reserves, gentlewoman from
That guy
Florida.
makes me laugh.
I yield 2 minutes of my time to the gentleman from California, Representative McClintock.
Gentleman's recognized.
Mr. Speaker, I opposed the original version of this resolution, not to defend Mr. Schiff's lies, but to defend the process that exposed those lies. We must never punish speech in this House, only acts. The only way to separate truth from falsehoods or wisdom from folly is free and open debate. And we must never impose excessive fines that would effectively replace the constitutional two-thirds vote for expulsion with a simple majority. But this new version removes the fine, and it focuses instead on specific acts, most particularly the abuse of his position as intelligence chairman by implying he had access to classified information that did not exist, and his placement into the congressional record of the Steele dossier that he knew or should have known was false. I hope, however, that we will hereafter return to the principles of due process that the Democrats stripped from our precedents in the last session. I yield back.
Manager reserves, gentleman from Maryland.
I yield 1 minute to the distinguished gentlelady from California, Ms. Lofgren.
Gentlewoman is recognized.
Mr. Chairman, I could go point by point and prove that the resolution is false, but time is short. I'll just say Adam tells the truth. He told the truth when we were managers on the first impeachment that resulted in a bipartisan vote for conviction. He told the truth when we served on the January 6th committee and found that the ex-president was the leader of a plot to overturn the Constitution and the electoral vote. Why is this before us today? Well, the truth hurts, doesn't it? And I think it's before us today because the ex-president has recently been charged.
You know how much the truth actually hurts? Potentially like $16 million.
How about some time in federal prison?
Maybe that might happen, but because of the statute or whatever, there's a chance that he doesn't get the prison time, and he just gets the $16 million fine that they're actually looking for to actually pay for half of the monies that was spent on the Russia stuff. So
It's a complaint, 6.5 million that do respect his investigation. Are you for real?
I want to see criminal charges. I want to see people go to jail for this kind of shit. No one's going to be deterred by some fine.
I want to see some cuffs and jumpsuits, man. You fashion experts, let's go.
Mm-hmm. Bring back Guantanamo for the right reasons.
Writer 249, I see you over on that Rumble side. Some of the stuff that you're saying that we can totally say on the Rumble side, we can't say over here on the YouTube side. So as far as that goes, yes, I totally agree with you 1,000 times over. And Lofgren, is kind of a hypocrite for sure. This lady, hypocrite.
Charged with dozens of felonies. I am a former chair of the Ethics Committee. This is a departure, this resolution is a departure from what has been the norm in the Congress in terms of censure. Not only does this resolution disgrace the MAGA Republicans who advanced it, but it also disgraces this institution.
Gentleman's time has
yield back.
expired. Gentlewoman from Florida is recognized.
I yield 2 minutes to the gentlewoman from Colorado, Representative Lauren Boebert.
Gentlewoman's recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and thank you to my colleague Ana Paulina Luna for leading on this very important issue. Adam Schiff is a complete disgrace to our nation and to our Constitution. He put the American people through 4 years of an endless impeachment hoax that he knew from the beginning was a lie. He represents the worst of permanent Washington, using his position of trust to lie to the American people. He received intelligence briefings that other members and the public did not have access to. And he used this position of trust to lie and to advance his own partisan agenda. Schiff's disgraceful time in Congress has destroyed Americans' faith in our institutions. Today, I am proud to stand with my colleague and friend from Florida, Ana Paulina Luna, to try and undo some of the damage that Adam Schiff has done by finally holding this crook accountable. Today, we are saying enough is enough by censuring him, and referring him to the Ethics Committee. I told the American people that he had to prove that the Trump campaign asking the Russians for help in a conspiracy. That was a lie. He claimed that he was not working with anonymous informants during the impeachment hoax. That was a lie. Everyone with common sense knew that Adam Schiff was lying all along, including the Director of National Intelligence, Obama's former Attorney General, the FBI Deputy Director, and more. But Adam Schiff doubled down on his big lie, claiming he had a smoking gun, proof of a conspiracy. But the only conspiracy going on was his conspiracy to defraud the American people by taking down their duly elected president.
Minutes to Representative Boebert.
Gentlewoman's recognized.
When Adam Schiff got caught lying, he did what all liars do and tried to cover the truth even more. He even used his taxpayer-funded staff to ask Twitter to censor journalists fact-checking his lies. But Adam Schiff won't get out of this one by calling in a favor. Today, we are holding him accountable and censuring him for his lies to the American people. To restore the trustworthiness of the House of Representatives, every member should vote to censure Adam Schiff so that we can speak with one voice to assure the American people that these lies will not be tolerated. I urge every one of my colleagues with good and decent intentions to vote for this resolution. If Adam Schiff has a shred of human decency left, he would resign from Congress in disgrace. His tombstone should read of his failed career in Congress and should be one word: liar. I yield back.
Gentlewoman reserves, gentleman from Maryland.
She hit it right on the head. She really did.
Damn.
Writer 249 says, I want to see criminal charges against a lot of people who committed treason against the sitting president, not just a slap in the hand like the Democrat president's son gets. I mean, jail time. Yeah, I really seriously agree with you. They really should get something. But, you know, because of who they are and their stature, usually they don't get that jail time. Usually it gets overlooked and they just, you know, kind of be like, well, you got money, so we're going to fine you. We're going to fine you. And it's not enough. It's never going to be enough. They really need to be brought up on said charges and actually sat. Now, there's another person that's over there. It says Ace429. It says, what would be the fate if we are living under the code of Hammurabi's law? That should be... what should be his punishment? I mean, jail time for sure. Lots and lots of time in jail. But
They need a deterrent. This needs to stop. They're too
Right.
comfortable doing this.
they're talking over there. Ace says, it does not end, you liar. He must go to prison only and will end the message sent to betrayers of the Constitution.
There you go.
Yeah, absolutely.
100%.
And yeah, and there's so many of them that are actually betraying the Constitution as we speak, though. So I mean, some would actually look at it as those that are actually going against Adam Schiff may also be doing just the same and actually going against the Constitution. You know, because it's their own personal feeling. So it's really who do you believe and who do you want to believe, and you know what actually does happen. I find it interesting that Adam Schiff said after his censure that he would wear this as his badge of honor. What other benefits did you receive? How much money or other perks did you get? You know, I mean, there's lots of millions and millions of dollars that were actually dumped into the going after Trump in itself. You know, so I mean, and that's the whole reason that this is actually coming up is because of that, because he actually did what he had done, and you know, if being that this one actually, we all know that he gets censored. You know, so the second that he actually gets censured, you know, it's like who actually was the person to actually bring up the second impeachment? Do we get to censure that person as well? Do we get to censure Nancy Pelosi? Do we get to go after anybody and every single person that had anything to do with that in particular? The uniparty sham paid for the deep state will result in the weakness and corruption that Iran will nuke us and defeat us. We will be destroyed from within. I really not positive that it would actually be Iran that would actually be the ones that would get to us first. I'd almost think that China might be right on their heels.
It's more likely that China would use a smaller country as like a scapegoat to use nuclear weapons against us. That way we can't retaliate directly against China or Russia.
Sure.
Like North Korea. That's China's patsy for a lot of things. Patsy, is that the right word? Scapegoat.
Sure. You know, they'll probably end up using the island of Taiwan to do just that. If you actually think about it, and all the stuff that's actually currently happening in and around Taiwan in itself.
Yeah, they're locked on that. Definitely want that.
Yeah. Several times over, right? All right.
I yield 1 minute to the distinguished gentleman from Connecticut, Mr. Himes.
Gentleman's recognized.
I thank the Speaker and the gentleman from Maryland. The gentleman from Virginia, I just heard him say that this is not a censure of Donald Trump. And he's right about that. And boy, is he right about that, because there is no behavior, not discussion of how he would handle women, not an attack on this Capitol, not the misuse of classified information that will ever result in a peep from the Republican majority, much less a censure of that behavior. This is a question of standing, amongst other things, if that is what you stand upon. As my colleagues pointed out, we don't hear anything about a colleague whose entire campaign and entire resume was built on falsehood. Instead, we hear that Russia was a hoax. Well, folks, I was there. The investigation began by a Republican chairman. It was predicated, and all these investigations were predicated on the fact that a Donald Trump foreign policy aide told the Australian ambassador that they were expecting dirt from the Russians. The most important thing I can say is I sat next to Adam Schiff for years. He is a man of integrity and dignity, and this vote, quite frankly, my colleagues, is a testament to your dignity or lack thereof.
Gentleman, time
I yield
expired.
the remainder.
Gentleman reserves. Gentlewoman from Florida.
I yield 3 minutes of my time to the gentleman from Georgia, Representative Green.
Gentlewoman's recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
There's a lot of things that happen here in Congress, and many of them waste the American people's hard-earned tax dollars. But one of the most outrageous waste of hard-earned tax dollars has been the Russian collusion hoax led by Adam Schiff. Adam Schiff lied to the American people by leading the fake Russian witch hunt against President Trump. He weaponized the House Intelligence Committee to abuse all principles of due process and perpetuate the lies of Russia collusion. And he did that on the media over and over again. His committee conducted approximately 53 interviews during its 2017-2018 Russia probe. These transcripts from the Director of National Intelligence, former Obama Attorney General, former Deputy Attorney General, and the FBI Director, among others, proved that there was zero direct evidence of criminal conspiracy. He not only refused to release these interview transcripts, but he also continued to peddle lies to the American people that Russia interfered in the election. He falsely claimed that Russians offered help. The campaign accepted help. The Russians gave help. And the president made full use of that help when referring to allegations between President Trump and Russia during the 2016 election. In November 2020, he specifically asked Twitter to take action against spreaders of misinformation by removing content that questioned his baseless claims of Russian collusion. The biggest spreader of misinformation was Adam Schiff. As we know, the Mueller report determined there was no criminal collusion between the Trump campaign and Russia. Thanks to the Durham report, we know now the entire Russian hoax was bought and paid for by Hillary Clinton and the DNC. During the probe, Schiff also abused his position on the Intel Committee and violated civil liberties by subpoenaing phone records from AT&T and a former Republican colleague on entirely baseless claims. His lies and abuse of power continued during the sham. Hollywood produced January 6th committee witch hunt, where him and his staff doctored a text message between Representative Jim Jordan and former White House Chief of Staff Mark Meadows to deliberately manipulate information presented to the American people. What a lie. He displayed a graphic of a text message which cut a sentence in half and eliminated the final two paragraphs of a detailed legal summary that were contained in the original text message. He did this to peddle more lies to the American people and perpetuate the fake narrative that January 6th was an insurrection, and it was not. And now Adam Schiff is running for Senate.
Gentlewoman yields.
Thank you.
How much time?
1 minute.
One more minute.
One more minute. Gentlewoman's recognized.
Thank you. And now Adam Schiff is running for Senate in California. Now, California has a lot of things messed up, and California is not the model that the United States needs. As a matter of fact, their government policies are atrocious. So if California decides to send Adam Schiff to Senate, they will be sending a proven liar, and that's what he's aiming to do. Raise money off of being a liar and running for Senate. I yield back the remainder of my time.
Ace429 says, what do you get when you have Biden, Fetterman, and Mitch McConnell in one room? Oh, you get a bunch of shit. A bunch of mouthful of crap. You just don't know what the fuck you're saying next. Just saying.
As far as California goes, Gavin Newsom is the literal Antichrist. I firmly believe that.
I was going to address that with you. I was half asleep when I heard that, and I was dying laughing in my sleep. That was funny. Sorry. I agree. Possibly. Yeah.
Groom's like, I don't like how the Republicans are saying zero direct evidence. I mean, what else would you like him to say?
Just keep your goddamn mouth shut.
But it's complicated, so we're not doing this.
Gentlewoman reserves, gentleman from Maryland.
I recognize and yield for 1 minute to my colleague.
Oh, no. Oh, Swalwell.
California, Mr. Swalwell.
Gentleman's
Bang,
recognized.
bang, gang,
This is
gang.
not a House floor.
Oh, it's so good.
He
He
made
looks like
it.
he needs to shave or something.
Yeah,
It's no rugged look.
Oh. Fang kicked him out probably.
Oh no.
Kicked him out of the bed.
The man, that's a man in pain that you can see right there.
Listen, he's been working. He's been busy. You know, he can't look good and keep busy. Apparently.
Yeah, you gotta keep the spies happy now, boy.
I mean, he couldn't even press his jacket right. So, I mean, whatever.
Yeah, he looks like an aide.
Or maybe he has. Oh, never mind.
We're proceeding. This is a partners meeting of Insurrection LLC. And I asked them, tell me, where was Adam wrong? He said at the first impeachment, can we be confident that Donald Trump will not continue to try and cheat this 2020 election? The answer is no, you can't. You can't trust this president to do the right thing, not for 1 minute, not for one election. He will not change, and you know it. Was he wrong when that president aimed and sent a mob into this chamber and made all of us leave? Was he wrong when he said that Donald Trump has betrayed our national security and he will do so again? And then Donald Trump stole and shared classified information? Was he wrong when he said that? Maybe he was wrong when he said to the country, you are decent. Donald Trump is not who you are. So I ask my colleagues, are you as indecent as Donald Trump? Will you be remembered as footnotes and foot soldiers in history's books that chronicle Donald Trump's corruption? Or will you be as decent as Adam Schiff?
It's funny coming from a Democrat.
Gentleman reserves. Members are reminded to direct their comments to the
Like
chair.
the rest of the homeless
Gentleman from
constituency of
Florida.
I
California.
yield 2 minutes of my time to.
He looks like he's fresh from the streets of Cali. Sorry, carry on.
I mean, maybe he just got done hanging out with the homeless guy
Mm-hmm.
in
Oh, they're
Cali.
awesome.
And
Yeah.
he's like, hey, I need your suit. Can I use that quick?
Big Asian. Yeah. Ew.
You can't choose a woman without banging a Chinese spy. Why the heck should I trust you to choose U.S. policy?
Is that the one?
Yeah, that's the one. Fang.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
He should have saw that coming. I mean, he can't even dress himself.
Oh, wait until tonight, because watched the Durham stuff earlier today, and there's a great spot where they actually pick on him, and it's just gold. I made sure that I actually found that particular spot in an article. Nonetheless, it was so fun. I'm like, oh fuck yeah, perfect. It's going to be used. It's so funny. That being said, don't forget to come back tonight, 10 o'clock Mountain Standard Time. That happens in about 2-ish hours.
To the gentleman from Florida, Representative Corey Mills.
Gentleman's recognized.
Thank you so much. Mr. Speaker, I rise in favor of H.Res. 521 to censure and condemn Congressman Adam Schiff. The bottom line is this. Congressman Schiff utilized his position and hid behind classifications to mislead the American people. He abused his congressional authority and security clearance to push his own party's political agenda. This was not meant to be an unbiased jurisdiction of change. This was meant to be a political witch hunt. When members are appointed to select committees on intelligence, they are trusted with privileged information, and other members of the House are taking them for their word. As someone who had worked within the intelligence community, I can tell you that our classifications that we're available to take and read is not to be abused for our own ulterior motives. I hope my colleagues will join Congresswoman Luna to censure and hold Congressman Schiff accountable and to put an end of the waste, fraud, and abuse and the gross neglect in how we take advantage of the American people. With that, I yield back.
Gentlewoman reserves. Gentleman from Maryland is recognized.
Mr. Speaker, I just want to observe that there are dozens of members on our side who have come to stand with Mr. Schiff, and it appears to have been evacuated on the other side. There's nobody standing with the Luna resolution, and I'd like to recognize and yield for 1 minute to Ms. Garcia.
Gentlewoman's recognized.
Mr. Speaker, Adam Schiff is tough. Adam Schiff is smart. Adam Schiff gets the job done. And Adam Schiff holds the powerful accountable. And that's
Do you think they all feel bad about themselves after they say all this stuff about him? Just like, I can't believe I just made myself say that.
These wino grandmas ain't helping the case. What'd you say, Ben?
I said they've all got a bottle of diluted bleach in their bags. They're slowly sipping on it. Because they feel dirty from the inside.
Yeah, burn it out.
Yeah.
Quarterize that shit.
exactly why we're here today. Extreme MAGA Republicans are trying to punish our colleague for doing his job, holding the twice impeached, twice indicted former president accountable. The MAGA wing of the Republican Party can't stop Adam. My friend Adam Schiff will always fight to defend our democracy. He will always do what is right. Trump's pals in Congress can create whole committees to defend him. They can try threatening outrageous fines. They can try to outright waste all of our time trying to prop up a man that has threatened our democracy over and over again. It's no surprise that former President Trump was in Miami court in a courthouse last week, and we're here today discussing this topic. Mr. Speaker, we've got to stop enabling this nonsense. When the whole House entertains the conspiracy theories, nonsense, and political vendettas, it's the entire GOP that's responsible.
Can they not hear him say your time is expired?
They don't care.
She's saying this stuff right at their the whole legal issue with Trump in Florida and New York, right? It's such hypocrisy.
Yeah, go back.
Gentleman reserves. Gentleman from Florida. Gentlewoman reserves. Gentleman from Maryland.
I would like to yield 1 minute to the gentlelady from Pennsylvania, Ms. Dean, a member of the second House impeachment team.
Gentlewoman's recognized.
Thank you, Mr.
Go ahead, point out every single member of each one of those teams.
Yeah.
Because the second that they actually realize who's had all these teams and who actually did what, they're going to come after you too. So continue to do that and find out what happens next.
Mr. Speaker, I rise today in opposition to H-Res 521 because this is not a serious resolution. This is political theater by the author who clearly was not here to distract from Donald Trump's history of transgressions and now indictments. It's also an attempt to punish Congressman Adam Schiff for effectively holding Trump to account. Congressman Schiff protected us from fascism at home and abroad. First, on the so-called perfect call, Donald Trump withheld a meeting and crucial weapons from President Zelensky to protect Ukraine from Russia unless they gave him dirt on now President Joe Biden. Mr. Schiff stepped up as chairman of the Intelligence Committee and eventually as lead manager to defend against executive corruption. Then, when the former president lost the 2020 election and summoned his supporters to storm this very Capitol, Mr. Schiff stood up again and on the January 6th committee to expose the former president's grotesque role.
But I can yield 10 seconds more.
Gentlewoman is recognized.
I don't know why my colleagues are so intimidated here, but I think it reveals their weakness. They are intimidated by a bully, and this censure attempt reveals they are also intimidated by a patriot and the truth. Lucky us to serve with Adam Schiff.
Gentlewoman's time has expired. Gentleman reserves.
Reserve.
Gentlewoman from Florida.
Protect Ukraine from Russia? Putin didn't invade Ukraine until after Biden was POTUS. You jackass. And that's exactly what it is. We all know it didn't happen until after this current resident of the United States, this will happen to take office, that that actually occurred. There was no new wars under Donald Trump.
When a
Zero.
bowl of pudding is in the White House, I mean, can you blame him? Now's the time if there ever was one.
Florida.
I yield 3 minutes to the gentleman from Wyoming, Representative Hagman.
Gentlewoman's recognized.
Mr. Speaker, I take my duties as Wyoming's lone congressional representative very seriously, and my obligation to be honest and trustworthy is the foundation of my ability to carry them out. This privileged resolution isn't about politics. It is about the seriousness of being honest and forthright as a member of Congress and upholding the oath of office that we all take upon being sworn in. It is true that the gentleman from California wouldn't be the first member of Congress to exaggerate or stretch the truth, but willfully lying about serious issues our country has faced is something entirely different. And claiming that a sitting president has committed what amounts to treason is beyond simple hyperbole. This member's lies led to the wasting of millions of taxpayer dollars for unnecessary investigations and the deflection of our attention from the most pressing issues at hand to focus on a made-up crisis. This member's actions were designed to delegitimize the 2016 election and to hamstring the Trump administration. For all the talk about not accepting the election results in 2020, perhaps Democrats and the media, which are mostly one and the same, might want to look at their actions in 2016. To make matters worse, this representative perpetuated these lies while he was chair of the House Intel Committee and consistently implied, if not outright stated, that he had inside information. In that capacity, he lied about how the FBI and DOJ obtained and renewed a FISA warrant. The FBI and DOJ officials did not omit material information from the FISA warrant. How the DOJ used the Steele dossier, what was collected via the FISA warrant, the FBI's vetting process for the Steele dossier, that he had an alleged smoking gun showing that President Trump colluded with Russia. And if each of these claims has proven to be false. But the lies have continued. In fact, they have become compulsive, and they continue right through to this very day. The lies weaken this body, and if left unchecked, threaten the rule of law, our election integrity, and the civil rights of his targets. The words and actions of this member were dangerous and untrue, knowingly untrue. There must be a serious consequence for that. Being censored is the least of what he should be subjected to, and I support this resolution.
Gentlewoman reserves. Gentleman from Maryland.
30 seconds to the distinguished gentleman from California, Mr. Mullen.
Gentleman's recognized.
Mr. Speaker, I rise today in strong opposition to the resolution. This latest stunt reeks of partisan politics.
Wow. That's an ugly ass suit.
Yeah.
Ugly ass suit.
Mafioso.
I mean, I seriously felt the need to actually stop to actually look at that closer. The blue and the yellow, okay, I get it. Yep, Ukraine. Yep, but the green?
It would have been all right with like a white shirt, maybe like a dark tie or something, but that just does not.
Yeah, the whole combination is like so disturbing. It seriously looked like somebody threw up on him.
Pinstripe too. It's like a freaking mob boss.
I mean, some people can get away with wearing that kind of clothing. This guy, he just no. Whoever said that he should do this, it was wrong.
Kind of looks like Vince McMahon.
I look good in that colour. It just doesn't look right on him. Okay.
His husband must tell him to not do this ever again.
Oh God.
Kiss, kiss.
Politics and does nothing but advance an extremist agenda. Worst of all, this resolution attacks a great defender of democracy, a member who is among our best. There is a legitimate role for censure in this institution, but the majority has debased it and rendered it meaningless in a cheap partisan slap.
Hello, Bam Bam PK. Good to see you. Glad you're here. Go ahead, hit that like button. If you haven't already, hit that subscribe button. It says Adam Schiff is dangerous because he is a chronic liar with a narcissistic personality. Most Democrats are, but in Schiff's case, it's been proven. Censor or expel Schiff. Oh, wait until the very end. Wait until the very end, and you'll actually find out what actually does happen.
Shameful. I yield back.
Reserve.
Woman from Florida.
I yield myself as much time as I may consume. I just wanted to take a second to thank all of my colleagues from across the aisle who have spoken today for putting themselves on the record defending the Russia collusion hoax, even after the Burisma payments to Hunter Biden and the big guy have been made public. The congressional record is a very useful accountability tool. And with that, I yield my time. I reserve my
Gentlelady
time.
reserve.
Reserve.
Gentlelady reserves. Gentleman from Maryland.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. They defend the big lie. They defend the insurrection. They defend George Santos, but they attack Adam Schiff. I yield 1 minute to the distinguished gentleman from Indiana, Mr. Carson.
Thank you to my dear friend. What I do know, Mr. Speaker, is that Adam Schiff defended the U.S. Constitution. He led an impartial investigation, which followed the facts, which led to the first of 2 impeachments of a former president. As a senior member of the Intel Committee, I've had the...
Say what?
Failed
Actually,
impeachments.
Failed impeachments. Why do they insist on saying they impeached him twice? The lies. The
They
lies.
did, but they didn't go anywhere.
Because I mean, technically, the House did do just that. The sad part is the Senate didn't. The Senate decided to not do such a thing, and that's why they feel as they were successful twice. If you'd think that if they were successful the first time, they wouldn't have to add twice to it because they would have been successful. They wouldn't have had to.
I think what happened here is they tried really hard the first time, but since they screwed up, they had to make up for it somehow. So they just went like balls to the wall with everything they could possibly
So
do.
they spent more money.
Yeah.
2 failures don't make one success.
Try telling them these things.
But you can't tell a Democrat that because Democrats have it stuck in their head that if they continuously repeat something over and over again, eventually it makes it the truth.
Yeah.
Because it's been working.
And that's what they attempted to do. They're like, well, just repeat it again.
honor of working closely with Mr. Shiff for years. He's a man of integrity, and he deeply loves this country like we all do. I urge my colleagues to vote no on this dangerous and purely vindictive attempt to silence someone because of his work to hold Donald Trump accountable. I urge my colleagues not to be fooled by these distractions. Don't ignore the facts. This resolution is a fig leaf to hide the very clear facts about a twice impeached president, a twice indicted ex-president who has put our national security at risk. I urge my colleagues to stop these political games and get back to the business of the American people. I yield back.
Reserve.
Gentleman reserves. Gentlewoman from Florida.
I reserve.
Gentlewoman reserves. Gentleman from Maryland.
I'm yielding 1 minute to the gentleman from Massachusetts, Mr. McGovern.
Gentleman's recognized.
The chairman of the Rules Committee.
Mr. Speaker, Republicans care more about personal vendettas and sucking up to Trump than about doing what's right for the country. Adam Schiff has been an incredible member of Congress. He exposed Trump's lies and corruption, impeached him, and got a bipartisan conviction vote in the Senate. He's passed real and consequential laws that solve real problems and help real people. And what's the sponsor of this censure done? What's Congressman Luna's record? I want her constituents to know in her congressional career, 5 out of the 6 legislative items she's ever introduced are about Adam Schiff. I mean, doesn't she have anything better to do? Like, I don't know, help her district? This is what's known as lunacy. And it's all about deflection, retaliation, and distraction from Trump's 37 felony charges. The people who came up with the big lie want to censure Adam Schiff for telling the obvious truth, all so they can defend a 3-time loser ex-president who's been indicted more times than he's been elected. What an embarrassing day for this institution. What an insult to the American people. I urge a no vote, and I stand proudly with Congressman Shiff.
I
Gentleman's
want
time's expired.
I want to thank the chairman of the Rules Committee for those astute remarks, and I will note that dozens of members of our caucus have come to stand with Mr. Shiff today, while the sponsor of this resolution, Ms. Luna, appears to be completely isolated over on her side of the aisle. I'll reserve.
Gentleman reserves. Gentleman from Florida. Gentlewoman from Florida.
I yield myself as much time as I may consume.
Look how
I
many
just want
people we
to,
paid off.
remind people.
You could see it in her face the second she stood up and smiled. Because, all right, everybody over here on the Democrat side, hurry up and make sure we all stand on in the camera together, so it looks like there's a whole bunch of us.
Yeah, that one guy that came up right behind him, he looked really cheeky.
He's like, oh, okay, I'll go sit down in front of the camera. Let's go.
Shuffling in.
People that this is on behalf of the American people in restoring order to the House and in an effort to bring back trust, which is something that this institution has lacked for many years. I'm very proud, and I would like to own my vote in saying that I will be voting for the censure of Adam Schiff. And with that, I yield my time.
Gentlewoman yields.
Reserve.
Gentleman will reserve.
I'm yielding.
Gentlewoman reserves. Gentleman from Maryland is recognized.
I'm yielding 30 seconds to the distinguished gentleman from Illinois, Mr. Krishnamurthy.
Gentleman's recognized.
Mr. Speaker, in reviewing this censure measure, I'm reminded of Will Rogers' quip, "I don't make jokes. I just watch the government and report the facts." This month, despite the pressing needs of the American people, we've spent a week and a half arguing about gas stoves. Next week it will be about toaster ovens. Today, we're voting on a joke of a measure to censure Adam Schiff, a true public servant and patriot. I urge a strong no against this resolution targeting a true American hero.
Gentleman reserves. Gentlewoman from Florida. Gentlewoman reserves. Gentleman from Maryland.
Yielding 1 minute to the distinguished gentleman from Colorado, Mr. Crow, a member of the first impeachment team.
Gentleman is recognized.
Mr. Speaker, here are some facts. Fact number one, Donald Trump remains one of the greatest dangers to our democracy that we have ever seen, and he's a demagogue. Fact number two, demagogues don't like people who call them out, who speak the truth, and pose a threat to their grand designs to destroy our democracy. Fact number three, I've spent my life serving this country in uniform, out of uniform, and I would be hard-pressed to find somebody who's more committed to democracy, who has more integrity, who has more commitment to the rule of law than Adam Schiff. So I call on my colleagues on both sides of the aisle to reject this absurd proposal, to set yourself free from your servitude of Donald Trump so we can move forward as a country. Set yourself free. You know the truth, and the truth shall set you free. I yield back.
Gentleman reserves. Gentlewoman from Florida recognized.
I yield myself as much time as I may consume. As a United States Air Force veteran and a proud Mexican-American woman that happens to be almost 8 months pregnant, I would like to say that in regards to integrity, what happened in this country, what happened with the divide that occurred after the fact that the Russia collusion hoax was pushed down the throats of the American people is not what I would consider integrity. And if we want to talk about these little fun games and comments back and forth, we're here not about Donald Trump. We're not here about January 6th. We are here about the former chairman of the Intelligence Committee that used a lie that broke apart this country. And so with that, I reserve the remainder of my time.
Gentlewoman reserves. Gentleman from Maryland.
Thank you. We're here precisely because of Donald Trump, because he wants this retribution exacted against Adam Schiff for standing up against Donald Trump's lies and assaults on American democracy. I want to congratulate the gentlelady on her forthcoming baby. That's awesome news, and I'm wondering if she would share some of her time with me, because I have started to run out of time and she has no speakers over on her side. So consider that. In the meantime, I'd like to recognize for 1 minute the gentlelady from Colorado, Ms. DeGette. Then I would recognize 1 minute to Mr. Neguse from Colorado. All right, to Mr. Thompson, the chairman of the January 6th Select Committee.
Gentleman's recognized.
No one wants to come up after this.
No, I don't want to do it. How about this guy? Nope, doesn't want to do it. So with this guy, if you actually watched anything that had anything to do with J6 at all, he was like the committee chairman pretty much on that or whatever, and he's the one that actually sat up in front of everybody and said whatever it was that they wanted them to say and told them what to say, how to say it, and when to say it. It was very disturbing to actually watch any of that J6 committee.
Very disturbing.
Figures he leaves something to polish it off, finish off everything, right? This is the end, right?
It's getting down there. Yeah, we're down the last 7 minutes here.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. I thank the gentleman for giving me the time. Mr. Speaker, with all the challenges our nation faces today, why are we relitigating the ex-president's first impeachment from 2019? After a similar resolution failed last week, why are extreme MAGA Republicans hijacking this House yet again by devoting precious floor time to attacking my friend and colleague, Adam Schiff? Maybe it has something to do with the fact that the leader of their party is facing trial on 37 felony counts of conspiracy and mishandling of classified documents. The disgraced ex-president even stored some of the nation's most sensitive secrets in the bathroom of his Florida club. These attempts to censor Adam have been orchestrated to distract, but no one is fooled. Extreme MAGA Republicans are targeting Adam because he's everything they wish they could be. He's tough, he's principled, and he's effective. I have stood shoulder to shoulder with Adam in the fight.
Grant, I yield the gentleman an additional 10 seconds.
Gentleman is recognized.
Thank you very much. I'm proud to work that we did on January 6th. It speaks for itself. I yield back.
Gentleman reserves. Gentleman from Florida.
I reserve.
Gentlewoman reserves. Gentleman from Maryland.
I yield the gentlelady from Pennsylvania, Ms. Scanlon, 30 seconds.
Gentlewoman is recognized.
Thank you. I rise to honor the steadfast patriotism and integrity of Adam Schiff. This scurrilous resolution is so dishonest and defamatory that it would justify a lawsuit if it were made anywhere other than the halls of Congress. This is pure political revenge and exposes both the depths to which the House Republican majority has sunk and their threat to our constitutional order. I'd encourage our colleagues to seriously consider how stunts like this bring dishonor upon this House and to condemn it unequivocally. I yield back.
Gentleman reserves.
Gentlelady and I reserve.
Gentleman from Florida.
I reserve.
Gentlewoman reserves. Gentleman from Maryland.
I yield 30 seconds to the distinguished gentleman from California, Mr. Garcia.
Gentleman's recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Now, this resolution is a joke. They are trying to smear Congressman Schiff for his work to defend our institutions. Meanwhile, the same people who attack Adam Schiff for seeking truth refuse to take action against a serial and admitted fraudster in their own conference. Adam Schiff did not win his election on false pretenses. He has not been accused of crimes in the U.S., nor admitted to crimes in Brazil. Unfortunately, not all my House colleagues on the Republican side can say the same. Now, 35 days ago,
So he didn't admit to crimes in Brazil. So did he actually commit the crimes even though he didn't admit to them? He kind of made it sound like that was the case.
Grim says, thanks for letting us know that the rules regarding speech do not apply to our rulers.
every House Republican voted to defend George Santos. Instead, they want to censure someone for truth and justice, Adam Schiff. Mr. Chairman, I yield back.
Gentleman reserves. Gentleman from Florida.
I reserve.
Gentlewoman reserves. Gentleman from Maryland.
I recognize the gentleman from California, Mr. Sherman, for 30 seconds.
Gentleman's recognized.
Today is a proud day for California, but particularly for the San Fernando Valley. Hundreds of members of this House did their best to protect America from Donald Trump, but only one did it so well that he is the focus of this ridiculous resolution. He was effective, he was direct, and Donald Trump has demanded that he be attacked. Adam, thank you for doing your job so well. California is proud and America is grateful. I yield back.
Gentleman reserves. Gentlewoman from Florida.
I reserve my time.
Gentlewoman reserves. Gentleman from Maryland.
I yield 30 seconds to the distinguished gentleman from Texas, Mr. Castro.
Gentleman's recognized.
Adam Schiff did his job. That's why they're trying to censure him today, because he held a mirror up to today's Republican Party, and they can't stand the ugliness.
Instead, they want to protect the most corrupt, indicted, and perhaps soon to be convicted President of the United States. We should vote no on this censure resolution.
My computer just crashed.
Gentleman reserves. Gentleman for Florida.
Okay.
Looks paused.
Yep.
Over here on Joaquin Castro. Figures that guy with the yellow tie was a Democrat from California.
Yeah, he was.
That was the guy that crept up behind that. Who's the other one I was talking? Right, he crept up right behind him, started like clapping. You know, let's go, guys. The pep guy.
Yeah. This is nearly finished. The fun part, I don't think, is at the end of this. I've sent it to Frog in case he hasn't got it. But it gets wild in there today. Wild.
Oh, we get a surprise after all this?
It gets crazy in there. I saw it earlier and I was like, damn. Is that really how the Dems went on?
Well, they're going on like it's a theater. This is political prosecution, but they started like they knocked it up to this level. Like
Yeah, they did.
Since Bill Clinton, right?
Yeah, every step of the way, they're the ones that have been escalating it. They've had the power to escalate it, and now the tables have slightly been turned. It's like, oh no, it's political persecution. Leave us alone. You've done nothing wrong. Like, guys.
It's like that cry boy thing that's like, you know, famous with the left side, right? They hit you, and the second you hit back, they scream really, really loud.
Yeah. Yes, it's that. They realize that you can actually hit back and it hurts. They're like, oh no, I've been attacked. Like, I'm defending myself.
That's why I'm convinced they just want to keep the two sides like arguing, you know, because there's no way you couldn't see this coming. I mean, once they start going hard after him, like obviously as soon as Republicans get a little bit of power, they're going to just equal out whatever the Democrats were doing, if not go over.
Yeah, but it will come to a balance eventually. But there needs to be something done before it settles to that point.
What a bunch of crap. Right at the freaking end.
At least the stream's still going.
I sent you the end because I don't think the glorious end is on here.
Yeah, and that's exactly why I think it might be going and is searching for the actual vote.
Yeah, I sent it to you, the 5-minute video to go at the end of this.
Can you put it in private chat? I can't open up Discord. There's no way.
Oh yeah, don't.
Can I send it to you, Moose, so you can do it? Because I can't send it from, I'm using 2 different devices.
Yeah, I actually got Discord running. I don't know why yours crashes. Mine's open right now. This whole time. But yeah, go ahead.
My computer crashes. I had my Discord closed. That's the fucked up part.
Oh.
Yeah, it's rough. It's rough when that happens. So let's get this to come back up.
You want to play it or you want me to play it?
I just need the other part, the vote.
Yeah, it's.
That's the link you sent me?
Yeah.
Reserved.
I put it in the private chat.
Florida. I reserve. Gentlewoman reserves. Gentleman from Maryland.
I yield 30 seconds to the distinguished gentleman from California, Ms. Pelosi, former Speaker of the House of Representatives.
Gentlewoman's recognized.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. I thank the gentleman for yielding and for his great presentation today. Today, we are on the floor of the House where the other side has turned this chamber, where slavery was abolished, where Medicare and Social Security and everything were instituted, they've turned it into a puppet show. A puppet show. And you know what? The puppeteer, Donald Trump, is shining a light on the strings. You look miserable. You look miserable. The only advantage to all of this is that instead of reversing what we did on the IRA to save the planet, or reversing what we did to reduce the cost of prescription drugs, you're wasting time. Adam Schiff
Gentleman's
is one of
time
the
has
greatest
expired.
members
Additional
of
10
the.
seconds.
The gentleman's time has expired.
I have
The gentleman's
10
time
more
has expired.
seconds.
The gentlelady's time has
He
expired.
said his is expired.
The gentleman from Maryland's time has expired.
Oh,
The gentleman from Florida is recognized.
Oh,
I
poor
yield
Nate.
myself as much time as I may consume. Again, I would like to say that this is not about Donald Trump. This is about holding accountability for someone who exploited their official position, had access to information that most members of Congress do not have access to, and bringing accountability back to the American people. So regardless of whatever the gentlewoman from California says or anyone else, you guys are not being honest about the focus of this resolution and this censure. And that is exactly why we're here today, to debate it out. But I thank you. With that, I reserve the rest of my time.
Gentlewoman has
Yield
the
back.
only time remaining.
Yield
Mrs.
back.
Gentleman yield. Gentlewoman yield. Gentlewoman does yield. All time for debate has expired. Without objection, the previous question is ordered on the resolution. Question is on the adoption of the resolution. All those in favor say aye. All those opposed, no. In the opinion of the chair, the ayes have it.
He says, I think you need a hearing aid.
The piece de resistance
All
is
right,
on
Moosey,
the
you
way.
got that last bit.
It's a private chat, but do you want me to play it, or are you gonna?
Oh, okay. I can get it.
Okay. You can tell Nancy it's getting late. You know, her dentures are flipping out while she's talking.
Could you imagine if America Shirts was here right now? He'd just be flipping a lid.
Because I'm excited about what's next. Sorry.
All right. So, the vote.
The yeas are 213 and the nays are 209. With 6 answering present, the resolution adopted. Without objection, the motion to consider is laid on the table. House will be in order. I'll wait.
Yeah. The process didn't work for us, so now we're gonna rally.
Yeah, now we get our own insurrection.
Obviously, Koof no longer exists. You can
Yeah.
tell.
And insurrection's everything.
The House.
The House.
Quiet.
Seriously, just like, shut the fuck up.
That's how they operate, you know. They're orderly until they don't get their way.
Yeah.
Then all rules are off the table. Any means necessary. Right?
Pure belligerence.
These aren't Democrats.
The House will be in order.
Exactly, Boomer. Rules for thee, but not for me.
What goes around comes back around.
Remove them. Remove the children.
Call the police on their ass.
The House will be in order.
Your children.
It's like they're trying to filibuster, but it's not working.
It's not going to happen. The vote's already been passed.
Oh, so sorry.
Will Representative Shiff present himself in the well?
Like a cigarette, sir.
Will Shift take the walk of shame? Shame, shame, shame.
What is that? What is that right there?
Pelosi's crazy cousin. I don't know.
She might be right. It wouldn't surprise me at all. Little pep talk. He'll be okay.
By its adoption of House Resolution 521, the House has resolved that the House of Representatives censures Adam Schiff, representative of the 30th Congressional District of California.
Yeah, that's gonna work.
Oh, Santos. Yeah, you know, they have their own,
I will begin again.
people that they like to actually call up for their bullshit.
By its adoption of House Resolution 521, the House has resolved that the House of Representatives censures Adam Schiff,
That's exactly how you deal with children.
Turn to your neighbor
Fight
with
the
the leg
power.
and give them an uppercut. Should be the response to this.
Exactly, Rose. Yes, raising your voice. Loud noises.
Hold your hands. Maybe it'll help.
by its adoption of House Resolution 521, the House has resolved that the House of
Detention, all of you. Staying after class.
They got a virtue signal to the others.
I have all night. By its adoption of House Resolution 521, the House has resolved that the House of Representatives censures Adam Schiff, representative of the 30th Congressional District of California, for misleading the American public
The ones like the
and
children.
for conduct unbecoming of an elected member of the House of Representatives. That Representative Adam Schiff will be forthwith present himself in the well of the House of Representatives for the pronouncement of censure. That Representative Adam Schiff will be censured with the public reading of this resolution by the Speaker. And that the Committee on Ethics shall conduct an investigation into Representative Adam Schiff's falsehoods, misrepresentations, and abuse of sensitive information.
Yeah, boy, it passed.
Get it.
Awesome.
So you know, basically, basically what happened there then, when you actually look at it and and hear what actually now they're going to investigate him. Now they're going to spend money to investigate him, to actually come up with a reason for on how to actually execute some kind of fine, jail time, or what they're actually going to do for him. This isn't just like, oh, it's done, it's over with, he's censured. Yeah, he's censured, but now what? Now there's the next step. Now there's the next step where they're going to investigate the guy. It's not that he's actually removed from his position. He still gets to be Shifty Schiff for the rest of his time, as long as he's still sitting there. Hopefully, after they're done with their investigation, they're actually trying to figure out what is actually happening. Will they be able to actually at least remove him from his position, disallowing him to run for position ever again? So yeah, he got censured. He got censured, and it's exciting. It's exciting to actually see that asshole actually got censured for what he deserves to be censured for.
Not just him, but when they investigate, anybody that was working with him.
Oh, it all comes out.
They're very
What's
nervous
up, Great
right
Liquor? Exactly. So, I mean, it's all good that he got censured. We're all excited that he got censured.
It's what comes that's getting me going. I can't wait. Let's bring it on.
Right?
Yeah, this is fantastic.
The ball is forwarded for once, as opposed to, oh, they've had a committee and it's gone no further. They've had this meeting and it's gone no further. This is the furthest they've gone with anything for a long time. Let's keep that momentum going.
And what it's supposed to do is it's actually supposed to humiliate him for doing, whatever it is that he had been doing, for them to actually feel the need to investigate him. So, they're gonna fine tooth comb the whole thing. They're gonna go through anything and everything that this guy's ever done, from the very beginning all the way through the impeachment stuff, all the way through current Ukraine dealings, anything and everything that he actually had anything to do with. There hasn't been very many people that have actually been censored through Congress. The House has been censored 24 times in the chamber's history. This is the 98th Congress. So when you actually think about it, not very often does it actually happen. That number would have been just updated today to be 24 times. So it's very interesting in itself to actually see this happen. And we're all excited. We're all like, yes, it finally happened. It deserves to. He deserved to actually be censured for everything that he's ever done. But let's just hope whatever it is that they actually do, whatever they go through and actually find out about him, that they actually hold him accountable for all of it.
That part, holding him accountable, because if they do that, all of this has been a waste of time, and that 30-odd billion that they spent doing that investigation and whatnot was a waste. It was just sad.
It's a political advertisement, pretty much.
Yeah.
If there's no no serious consequences for this kind of stuff, him and whoever's working with him, knowingly lying, whatever it was.
They green light this corruption going forward. They green light this kind of behaviour going forward, and saying, okay, yeah, you might get called out for it, but you won't even get a slap on the wrist, really. You'll get your name put down in a book, but that's about it.
Yeah, this is like with the pharmaceutical companies. They just kind of account for potential class action lawsuits before the fact, and they still end up making hand them this money.
Yes.
There's no incentive not to do it. It's the opposite, actually.
So, all that being said, thank you all so very, very much for joining us here today. If you haven't done so, I actually should get up my... Something's not right here. I don't have the right screen up. I should actually go and edit the description line before we go too far, and actually add both Moose and Beautiful to it. You should actually subscribe to both of them, because, why not? Whatever reason, that screen just so happened to have gone away. I wonder why. Oh, so good. Such a bunch of crap. So
maybe we'll poke around before the midnight stream.
Right. Well, so right. I have an hour and a half to actually continue to get ready for tonight.
Oh, bye, Rose.
I will be back later. I promise I will be back. I'm trying to delay here to actually get this edit real quick before I do go away. If you guys haven't done so already, everybody go ahead and hit that that like button for me. Share this out to all those places that you'd like to share things to, and let all your friends know where you like to hang out. Here.
This is gonna be suppressed, especially like the full version of that. So definitely spread this around.
Right. Exactly. I doubt that this will be monetized in any way, shape, or form.
Which is ridiculous. Spread it out there.
Oh, he's doing Max Smurf style goodbye extended version. Yeah. My computer just fucking crashed.
Again, pre-buy. Oops. Okay, so do you want to give us a show tune, Moose?
What was that?
You want to give us a show tune?
A show tune. Not when I'm on the spot like that. Oh. Bum ba bum ba bum ba bum ba bum bum.
Bonanza.
Is that what that's from?
I think so.
For years.
For years you've been doing that. You didn't know where it was from.
No. Yep. I don't watch Bonanza now. It's a Western type thing, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I watch Bonanza. I watched Tombstone recently, and kind of itching to watch some of the older Western.
I haven't seen Tombstone.
It was pretty good.
But I do like a good Western. I like the old films.
I don't know if it follows like the proper Western format. It was made in like 91 or something.
Ooh.
But still makes me want to watch some Westerns just to see what's going on. My grandpa used to be really into that.
Let you know if it's real.
Froggy.
Fucking stupid ass computer. I swear to God. It's the worst computer I've ever bought in my life. And I can't wait to actually buy a different one to actually do a better job. It seriously sucks ass. I've never had such a problem with a computer in my life. All that being said, again, thank you also very, very much for being here. I will be back in about an hour and a half for a regular Stick with Cool Frog, where we'll cover some Durham and as well as a bunch of other news. Love you all so very much. Everybody say goodbye.
Cheers.
Later.
I don't want to live on this planet anymore.